You've invested your own money into solar panels, clean power, lower bills, doing your bit for the environment. But in some countries that decision is now costing you. They're calling it a sun tax, ever reducing payments for the electricity that your panels send back to the grid. But worse than that, charging you for that export instead of paying you. It feels completely unfair. And if you live in the UK like I do, watch out, because I think the sun tax is coming here too. Hi there, I'm Gary and welcome back to my channel, Gary Does Solar. The world of home solar is always changing, and sometimes those changes are happening so quickly it's hard to keep up. One of the big changes I wanted to talk about in this video is what's become known as the sun tax. And if you live in places like Australia or Spain, you'll already know exactly what that is. It sounds like a tax that's levied by the government, but it's not. By the way, there typically are taxes levied by the government for home solar. We won't cover those in this video, but if you are interested to find out more about the tax situation in the UK, for example, check out Jonathan Tracey's video here. What the sun tax refers to is reduced payments, or worse still, charges for the electricity you send back to the grid. That's wild, and in some countries they're already charging a fixed amount for every kilowatt hour you send back. It just feels wrong. Governments actively encourage people to install solar by providing various incentives, but then they turn around and penalise those same homeowners when they generate more than they can use. So what's going on? Is the rug really being pulled from under people, or are there other factors at play here? And why would the UK be affected? Compared to other countries, our solar potential is way lower. Let's find out. For this part of the video, I'll be focusing in on the UK as it's a market I know well, but you can see from that how a sun tax might affect your country if it isn't doing so already. I started by looking at this utility provided by Our World in Data to see what the percentage share of electricity was due to solar and wind generation. You can see that for the UK that number is 36%, and it's been steadily building up over the last couple of decades. Not quite as high as countries like Spain or Ireland yet, and nowhere near Denmark or Lithuania, but even at 36%, it's enough to have significant impact on the management of the grid. I was surprised that Australia is only at 33% at the moment, but I suspect that will rapidly increase over the next few years, just like it will do in the UK. But even at 36%, you can already imagine the effect that these two intermittent supply types might have on pricing. And to see that, I'm going to turn to Mick Wall's Energy Stats UK. You might have seen his recent video on when the cheapest electricity is in the UK. If not, it's well worth a watch. The cheapest price used to be overnight, but it's not anymore. Now, more often than not, it's in the middle of the day. This is one of the charts Mick showed in the video. It's the average indicative half-hour wholesale price of electricity for each year going back to 2019. What you can see here are two trends happening. Firstly, overnight pricing was predominantly much cheaper than average back in 2019. But as the years have progressed, overnight pricing has increased to around average today. At the same time, pricing around lunchtime has decreased from around average back in 2019 to much cheaper than average today. As wind generation can occur anytime day or night, the trend that we're seeing here is undoubtedly due to the effect of solar and increasing solar generation capacity over those years. And if we look at another of Mick's charts, this one shows Agile Octopus pricing across a typical day in July this year. Agile prices track the wholesale market very closely. And look what happens in the middle of the day. Prices didn't just drop to around zero, they went negative. Wholesale prices are set by supply and demand. When there's lots of power available and not enough demand for it, the price simply falls. And on days like this, when the grid is already flooded with solar generation, it's no wonder then that your solar export is essentially worth nothing to the grid. And this is where the sun tax comes in, providing little or no payment for your export, and in some countries charging you for that solar export instead, basically sending homeowners the message that the grid does not want your export. Now in the UK we haven't seen any charging for export yet, but we are seeing declining flat export rates over recent months. Most notably, Octopus Energy, the largest energy provider in the UK, lowered their flat rate export from 15 pence to 12 pence back in March this year. I'm actually expecting this rate to fall further over the next year or so. It doesn't make any sense at all for Octopus to be paying 12 pence at times when the wholesale pricing is around zero or even negative. What will the situation be like in 5 years' time then, when solar and wind capacity has, let's say, doubled? At that point, maybe we'll see the energy providers charging for export, but actually I'm hoping that won't need to happen. The problem in the UK, and indeed other countries, is not that there's too much wind and solar. Actually, we need more of both every year in my view. The real problem is that the grid operators don't yet have enough storage to handle that level of generation. In an ideal world, just as your home battery stores solar that your house can't use straight away, a country should be able to store excess wind and solar generation until it's needed. The most obvious way to do that is with utility-scale battery farms like this one, but that will take time and serious investment. In the meantime, though, grid operators already have another powerful tool, smart tariffs. Smart tariffs are excellent at shaping both supply and demand, and while not every country uses them fully yet, the UK is starting to lean into them more heavily. Take Octopus Energy as an example. Alongside their standard outgoing tariff, which currently pays a flat 12 pence per kilowatt hour no matter when you export, they recently introduced Prime Outgoing, which pays 16 pence between 4 p.m. and 7 p.m. and 9 pence at all other times. Now, I'm not a betting man, but if I was, I'd expect changes to both of these tariffs to come within the next couple of years. The flat outgoing rate could drop perhaps to 8 pence, and if that happened, the lower rate of Prime would also drop, maybe down to 5 pence. The higher evening Prime rate could stay close to 16 pence, as the resulting price gap of 11 pence would be enough to drive the behaviour the grid needs. Less export in the middle of the day and more in the evening. I could then see the outgoing and lower Prime rates drop even further over time until they reach zero. Now, I don't see the UK having the kind of sun tax like other countries where you'll be charged for your export, but who knows? Let me know in the comments what you think might happen, and we can check back here in a few years' time to see who was the closest. Now, for the more adventurous among you, Octopus Energy also offers agile outgoing. An export tariff with the price you get paid changes every half hour. This export tariff has been around for many years, but I don't know how many people actually use it. If you're on or have used agile outgoing in the past, please let me know in the comments what your experience was like, as this will help those who are not sure which export tariff to pick. Okay then, if you're looking to get home solar in the near future, how can you best prepare yourself for the inevitable sun tax? Here's the way I'd be thinking then, which might help you. Don't bank on flat rate export tariffs being around in say 5 years' time, for all the reasons that we've just covered. And be wary of solar installers who calculate potential ROI, that's return on investment, based on a flat rate export tariff. It's easy for them to make the figures look great by doing that, but you're putting yourself at risk. Get the largest battery capacity you can reasonably afford, or at least one that's easily expandable over time, for 3 reasons mainly. Firstly, you'll be able to soak up and store most, if not all, of your solar generation for later self-consumption, meaning you'll be exporting less or none to the grid, getting paid less and less for it. The second and third reasons I'll come on to shortly, but I would say in general self-consume as much of your solar generation as you can. You just can't beat the financial reward of not having to buy electricity from the grid, and you'll never get over how great that feels too. A large home battery, of course, is a perfect way to do that, but you can also consider shifting some of your usage to when the sun is out and you're generating. For example, running washing machines, dishwashers and other heavy appliances at that time. And if you're able to, heat your water electrically. For example, if you have an air-to-water heat pump, you can simply reprogram it to heat water during the middle of the day instead of overnight on sunny days. Even if you don't have a heat pump, you might have a water cylinder. Many of these come with a built-in immersion heater that can be set up and controlled by what is known as a solar diverter. Now, you may have seen this video from me a couple of years ago making the case that solar diverters weren't really worth it, but with today's ever-decreasing export rates, the game is changing, and I can actually see solar diverters coming back into fashion now. You could also look at electrifying any towel rails you have in the home. These are relatively easy to convert from hot water to electric heating, and they can be programmed to switch on and off at the best times. And of course, don't forget, you can charge your EV in the middle of the day as well. That can easily soak up 7 kilowatts or more depending on the charger you have. And rather than trying to do all of that manually, it's worth noting that Octopus Energy already has an EV tariff that automatically charges your car at the cheapest times, day or night. It's called Intelligent Octopus Go, and it's genuinely impressive how well it works. By the way, if you're not already with Octopus but you're liking what you're hearing about all these amazing tariffs, it's very easy to switch to them. And if you use my referral code here, you'll get £50 credited to your account. I'll also get £50, which really helps the channel grow. Thank you. Okay, I said there were 2 other reasons for getting the largest home battery capacity you could reasonably afford. The second reason is being able to store a large percentage of your solar generation until later in the day when you'll get paid much more for it. Remember the Prime Outgoing and Agile Outgoing export tariffs that we talked about earlier. And the third reason, which might be the biggest reason of all, is about handing over control of your home battery to a third party at specific times or even all the time so that they can carry out energy trading on your behalf, for which you'll be handsomely rewarded for. A great example of this is with Axel Energy. I use this service myself, and it's the main reason why I have 36 kilowatt hours of battery in fact. I can earn £1 for every kilowatt hour I export to the grid, irrespective of the export rate I would already be getting. And soon, because of the increased amount of wind and solar generation in my country, I can see my battery also being used to soak up some of that abundant supply on the grid at various times of the day, again at a lucrative rate. Yes, that means I'm getting paid to charge my battery, and then I can use that stored energy for whatever I want later. Welcome to the new world. You can find out all about Axel Energy in this video I made earlier this year, and if you've got one of these battery brands, why not just sign up now and try the service for yourself? I just love it. And if you use my referral code here, we'll both get £25 for signing up. And if you don't have home solar yet, but you are looking to buy it, you'll need an installer. If you live in the UK, here's a link to my installer directory, which only contains who I think are the best installers in the country, ones that I trust with my own money. Join the hundreds of homeowners who've already used the directory and now have a top quality installation. So that's the sun tax then, or at least a version of it that I think is heading our way in the UK. The rules are changing, export payments are under pressure, and the old assumptions about flat rate tariffs won't last forever. But if you plan for it now with a decent sized battery, or at least one that can be easily expanded over time, and you've got a good strategy around self-consumption, using the right smart tariffs and getting involved with energy trading, you can stay ahead of it. Thanks so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.